I was talking to my friend. We were at this cute coffee shop and the coffee's good, the vibes are good. And moments ago, maybe like even an hour before, I was dreading seeing her. Hour before, it's been this pain. Coordinating something on the day off like feels like a lot. To wake up, drag myself out of bed, wash my face, put on a bra, like humaning. I'm mentally okay at the moment. I wasn't tired this weekend. I had a very renewing weekend actually. Yet I still felt like I didn't want to go. And part of it is like this coordinating fatigue that we get playing this Tetris with our calendars and schedules. The habit of staying isolated also gets really, really addicting. I could watch my shows, eat my snack, and not spend money. That also sounds really, really appealing. So double everything that I was feeling and dial it by like 100. It's hard to get up because you're mentally exhausted, physically tapped out. Maybe you worked a shift that weekend. Maybe you were rigorously doing something physically laborious. You live in the suburbs and away from the coffee shop. And so now you have to get in your car and drive.
A little different than all the rest.
It was just like, damn, it's hard for me. For the most part, I'm okay. I have a job that allows me to be flexible and be doing stuff like this in the middle of the day. I was enjoying my time with my friend and we were kikiing, but it made me sad because I probably won't be seeing her again for like a couple of months, because we go through these like motions of recognition, like energy, and the fact that this much just to get here doesn't make sense for us to go through this again for another 3-4 months. And I told her that. I told her my fears and my weird contradictions, the contradictions that I feel in my body. Not in those exact terms because I wasn't like writing the outline of this video yet, but in terms of this yearning for intimacy, yet like not being capable of moving outside of the way that we've been conditioned to interact with capitalism in the world that's informed by individualism, and you got it, you do it, and you needing to do everything alone transitions to you needing to process everything alone. To no one's surprise but my own, she was like, exactly. I was journaling about this last night, and we got in this deeper embodied conversation of what could be. I saw a video a while ago and it was talking about how trust building usually happens by you speaking about the vulnerabilities, the insecurities that you feel in relationships, and not necessarily showing up as you have it all together. I mean, you probably would trust me less and have a different perspective of me if I only deconstructed community capitalism and everything in between as an abstract form of study. Necessarily relating it to my life, it would feel really disjointed. Video essays, I feel like, that present this like evidence-based research, while it could be really valuable, it does feel very disjointed. Listening to an anthropologist express very vaguely familiar things to you, but then when it's being instilled or it's being colored by the experiences of that person, I think it's a lot more valuable and it's a fuller picture. There's this really cool shift that we're not giving credit to, and it's this people recognizing they need communities need some values. Like, I think there's a nobody gets it but me. People do understand. It's just that it's about like reshifting, I think, some of our values and priorities to kind of have even the space to think about some of these things. Video essayists may have language for it, but I think we all understand that we do need community, but this is also hard and contradictory to what we actually are yearning for. Living under late stage capitalism and a world that's colored by colonialism and all these isms, you start to recognize that you have to solve the thing, you have to fix the thing. So you start to approach the world exactly like that. And that's dangerous because a lot of things are like unsolvable. I think recognizing something as unsolvable or uncertain is a very hard thing, and it kind of goes against what we've been conditioned to do. But I think understanding that this is hard, like intimacy feels hard, friendships feel hard, is like a very important like foundational thing in like all of this. As things come up, we have to name them as what they are. If it feels like there's a disconnect or have an intention to connect with someone in a specific way, it's not going according to how you have imagined that, I think it's okay to talk about these things. There's this romanticization of processing things alone under capitalism that feels really fueled by like journaling and all those things, which are very important, but I think we are forgetting a lot of healing, like a lot of commonality, even like how you're processing the world comes from the fact that you talk to someone and you're like, oh, I also feel that, I also feel that. One of my elders in community was talking to me about how a lot of young people especially confuse attunement with belonging, and most of the time in relationships what we're craving is both, but like foundationally you need belonging in order to feel attuned. Attunement also is like if you're aligned politically with someone, or like how you view the world, like, and your values seem pretty attuned, but maybe you don't feel comfort and safety and love from that person. But a lot of people are in spaces where they are aligned in a lot of different ways with people, but they don't feel safe or loved, or they can be vulnerable or name out some of the insecurities that are coming up for them, or the fact that they're yearning some versions of intimacy. I think as a result, I have kind of gotten better as like a person also living and existing under capitalism. Most of the time kind of have to be okay to not be guilted and having this like FOMO exhaust that we are moving in reaction to. Like we do a lot of events and things, and just because it feels like if I miss this out, then like what am I even doing? In my previous video I was talking about like really assessing and kind of really looking into what your values are, not necessarily what looks good. Most of the time what we are doing is doing things to kind of keep up with the Joneses, keeping up with Instagram, so because it looks good. Most of the time that doesn't really bring a lot of fulfillment. Someone very smart told me, imagine 10 years from now and all your financial goals, all of those things have been met. Are you happy with the social connections that you have fostered? It also takes like recognizing between protecting your energy, your own capacity, and getting outside of your comfort zone, which is like a delicate balance, because most of the time you do want to kind of listen to your body, and if your body's saying like rot, like literally don't do anything, then you're not gonna be able to go out of your way to form some of these like deeper connections with people, because deeper connections also require multiple practices of being in community with people. A lot of us are expecting from like a one-off interaction with someone, or like maybe we saw them twice, like you're like, it still doesn't feel good. There's some things that happen like, you know, right away and the chemistry is great, but a lot of the time people are showing up as like half of themselves, so it does take like long-term exposure, which again is frustrating because the one thing that we're lacking a lot of the time is time. I think one of the other reasons why I feel it's important to process some of these complicated things that don't really have a solution is being able to navigate the tapped outness. Tapped out is like the norm right now, and so a lot of people, you ask like how they're doing and they say like they're tired, and so being able to like really deeply explore why that is, like for yourself of course, but like also being able to talk with someone is a very nourishing feeling. Because even my friend was like, oh, not to bring down the moment, assuming that like us meeting in like 3-4 months after not seeing each other, only we are able to share with each other the highlights of our lives and not necessarily the vulnerabilities or the hard stuff. It kind of shocked me because it's making extra plans can be exhausting, because plans signal that you are having a positive experience, but a lot of the time they're just processing spaces. We have to be able to be okay with sharing why the road to getting there felt hard. Also heard a lot of people say like adding what you are already doing to what you regularly do. So my friend and I both do running, like we run. She lives really close to me, so she was like, oh, I can just like text you maybe 15 minutes in the morning before I leave and put on my running shoes to come run with me, and you can either like respond to that or like don't respond to that, and like I'll take that as a way, like a normal ask for us to hang out, so it doesn't feel like we're seeing each other every couple of months, which feels really foreign for like a lot of our bodies. But we're kind of just like, oh, this is just how it is right now. Also done with friends like this co-working sessions where we're both doing work. We would just do our work separately, but we are in physical proximity with each other. Like being able to, you know, maybe you have 5-minute break or something, and during those moments you can talk. Like I think obviously it can be boundaried as you need to, but like that's another thing that's been supportive. Can you all cook? Like I think cooking is like one of my love languages. So being able to cook and eat and watch stupid documentaries or something is another way to be with people. That feels very low effort, but also process a lot of stuff that maybe you don't get to process as often. When you're dressed like very swanky and like very nice, the expectation is like it's only gonna go uphill from here. Even moving out of my house to go to a place feels hard. I think obligations are very complicated, like, and that's something that I've learned from a lot of people, especially like people that have like multi-layered responsibilities in their life, which is like a lot of people. It's a thing that feels like a should, right? Like at the beginning, and it doesn't always exist in this like tightly neat binary of like, this is something that the world is telling me to do versus like this is something that I want to do. Not everything exists like that, especially like under where we're living in, the systems that we're living in. We kind of have to navigate and be able to distinguish. Sometimes some obligations nourish you in like 2 hours. When I saw my friend, it felt like an obligation, like getting there, waking up in the morning on a Sunday, being there with her and having these conversations and drinking like some real good coffee with her and eating very mediocre pastries was just like, it made my weekend for me. You know, it didn't feel easy to get there, but sometimes it's not supposed to feel easy, and that is like the trick of it all, right? I think going back to my earlier point, asking for help is really hard, but I think it's foundational to trust building. If you've made a plan with someone, like sometimes I'd be like, I am not feeling up to going to a museum or whatever the thing is outside. You feel like we can just chill and watch some bad documentaries or watch some dumb YouTube videos while having takeout, and if we don't want to spend money, we can just like cook whatever's in the pantry. Sometimes you just don't want to be putting a bra. Stepping outside, if it costs money, is like, what's the appeal of being outside? The hard part of all of this is that most of the time, because of the practice of community is like almost been conditioned outside of our body, it feels like work. It feels like a lot of effort to even just see your friends or the people that you want to be around. So the self-accountability especially feels hard when it's winter and you don't want to be stepping out of the house because it's icy outside and it's like really warm inside, and you have a job. So it's like the only reason I would be stepping out of my house is like my job requires it. Like when the factors of your environment makes it harder for you to be outside, even when it's like a sunny day and you're like, oh, it's so sunny outside and like there's too many things going on, I'd rather just be at home. So there's like the desire to stay in is so strong that you almost have to go against it most of the time. We have practiced solitude and aloneness so well that it's gonna feel like work or effort to bring back being in community with people. I think that's kind of the point of it, right? Exciting, it's emergent, it's uncertain. There's no manual or protocol that we're following. We're kind of just existing and seeing what makes sense and adjusting accordingly as things don't work in the way that we want them to. That's the cool thing about it all. If someone offers you a manual for community making in a very rigid, very specific way, it most likely is a scam or a pyramid scheme. Belonging right now is so hard that people are entering spaces that they should not be in to feel like they can belong. I'm thinking about multi-level markets, pyramid schemes, cults, like people paying for subscription services so they can feel to be a part of things. I saw the other day that Instagram was like promoting this thing where you could pay a subscription service to go on blind dates with potential friends or partners, and it's just random people that it just puts you together. And I see the value in that, but I just feel like we're so out of practice that these companies are using the thing that makes it hard to exist in this world and put a price tag on it. And that doesn't sit right with me, like, at all, because a lot of this stuff is just ancestral knowledge, things that we have known and have done and our ancestors have done. And if you were to resurrect one of your ancestors and tell them that this is what is happening right now, they would probably be very confused, because it is confusing. The wound of capitalism is that it creates basic human rights and needs and privileges of existing as a human being and market those to you as cure to loneliness and feeling disconnected or feeling you are lacking of intimacy. To what end? Because these things are not making us be part of communities that we want, we would be fulfilled in. We are coming up with all these categories of solutions that don't really fix the root issue, which is lack of intimacy, lack of connection, and lack of community. It was really great to process this with my friend. Like, I think being able to do that with my friend, who I was feeling this very complicatedly about, felt almost like owning what's wrong rather than trying to cut the noise down, turn the noise off of the issue that probably doesn't have like one size fits all solution. Yeah.